Let's be honest for a second. Downsizing in your 60s, 70s, or beyond isn't just about getting rid of stuff. It's an emotional, psychological, and sometimes downright comedic roller coaster. People love talking about the positives: lower bills, less cleaning, simpler living. But nobody really talks about the hard parts, the frustrating moments, the times you're standing in your old living room holding a casserole dish you haven't used since 1998. And suddenly, you're crying for reasons you can't explain. Today, we're diving into the hardest parts of downsizing in old age: the emotional, the awkward, and the late night, "why doesn't this new bedroom feel like mine yet?" moments. So grab a cup of tea, or something stronger, I won't judge, and let's walk through this together. If you're feeling overwhelmed or sentimental, you're not alone. And honestly, you deserve to hear the real truth about this journey and why it's still worth it. Number 1. Realizing your home holds your life story, not just your furniture. You know, the funny thing people don't tell you about downsizing is that the moment you start sorting through your old things, you suddenly become the star of your own emotional documentary. You think you're just grabbing an old box from the attic, and suddenly you're standing there holding your kid's third-grade science project, wondering where the last 40 years went. Everything in your home has a story attached to it. Not just the obvious stuff like photo albums or Christmas ornaments. Even the random, dusty things you forgot you owned still somehow tie into a moment of your life. That old lamp that flickers when you turn it on? You remember exactly when you bought it, and how you nearly fell off the ladder trying to install it. The carpet stain in the corner? That was the Thanksgiving your cousin knocked over the gravy boat. A house isn't just a building. It's like a scrapbook you've been living inside. One woman shared how she sat down to sort through old coats in her hallway and ended up sitting on the floor for an hour crying over a coat her husband used to wear. Not because she was sad, but because it felt like touching a piece of time that she thought she had neatly packed away. Another man wrote that he had to stop cleaning his basement because he found a box labeled kids stuff, and in his words, "I had to go stand in the backyard for air before I turned into a puddle." Downsizing forces you to revisit your whole life, the people you've loved, the versions of yourself you've been, the seasons you've walked through. It's like your home sits you down and says, "Before you leave, let's take one more walk down memory lane." And here's the thing. That's not a bad thing. It's touching. It's healing. It's also exhausting, emotionally and physically. But it reminds you of just how full your life has been. You don't realize how many memories you've been quietly living beside until you open the attic door and they all come rushing out at once like a nostalgic avalanche. So if you find yourself crying over old calendars or laughing at ridiculous outfits from 1978, just know that's part of the journey. It means the life you lived in that home meant something. 2. The sudden fear that you're losing part of your identity. Now let's talk about something almost everyone feels but rarely wants to admit. That quiet fear that moving to a smaller home means you're somehow shrinking as a person. You've spent decades being the person with the big house where everyone gathered, the holiday host, the parent, the one who knew where everything was, the one who always had a spare bedroom ready, just in case. And suddenly, when you downsize, it can feel like you're stepping out of all those familiar roles and into something unfamiliar. And unfamiliar can be scary. One woman said, "It felt like I'd gone from being the CEO of a household to an intern in a studio apartment." Sure, she was joking, but the feeling is real. Your home isn't just where you sleep. It carries your status, your routines, your habits, your pride. So when you're moving, it's easy to think, who am I now if I'm not the person with the big backyard and the overflowing kitchen full of just-in-case serving bowls? But here's the truth, and I say this like I'm talking directly to a good friend. You're not losing your identity. You're shedding the props that never defined you to begin with. The person you are, the wisdom, the humor, the stubbornness, the creativity, the strength, the stories, all of that is still there. None of that fits in a moving box anyway. One man put it beautifully when he said, "I thought moving meant I was becoming less. But after a few months, I realized I was becoming more of myself." Without the distractions of maintaining a big home, he rediscovered his hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and finally had time to do things he used to put off. So if that fear creeps in, and it will, remember this: you're not downsizing your life. You're downsizing the square footage where your life happens, and the two are not the same. 3. The physical toll of decluttering is no joke. Okay, let's lighten things a bit and talk about the part that makes everybody over 60 want to lie down after 10 minutes: the sheer physical brutality of decluttering. I'm convinced that things get heavier with age. Not your age, the object's age. A box you packed in 1993 somehow gained 40 extra pounds. That bookshelf you used to move by yourself. Now it requires a strategic military operation and 2 ice packs afterward. Seniors talk about this all the time. One man wrote, "I thought decluttering meant slowly sorting through things. But it turns out it's mostly me bending, lifting, stretching, twisting, and occasionally praying." Another woman joked that after 2 days of trying to organize her attic, she could hear her knees negotiating their final contract. Decluttering is truly a full-body workout. You bend down to get a box. You stand up too fast. Your lower back sends you a strongly worded email. Your shoulder reminds you that you're not 25 anymore. And then, just when you think you're done, you discover another entire closet you forgot existed. And it's not just the physical part. It's the combination of physical exhaustion and emotional overload. It's like running a marathon while reading old love letters at the same time. No wonder people get drained. So here's a little friend-to-friend wisdom. Go slow. Take breaks like they're mandatory, because honestly, they are. Drink water. Stretch. Laugh at yourself when you try to lift something you have no business lifting. One woman said she made a decluttering playlist because music helped her stay upbeat. Another said she rewarded herself with a cookie every hour, which I fully support as a life philosophy. You're not weak for getting tired. You're human. Decluttering is hard. But the good news is, every load you move and every box you sort is one step closer to a lighter, freer version of your life. 4. Feeling guilty about letting go of things your kids don't even want. This one hits so many people right in the heart. You spend years, decades even, carefully storing things because you thought one day your kids would want them. The family china, the old piano, your wedding dishes, boxes of childhood art projects where every stick figure has a head the size of a pumpkin. You imagine passing them down like some emotional baton. Then the moment comes, and your child looks at that china set you've kept safe for 40 years and says, "Oh, no thanks." You could practically hear the dramatic music playing in the background. Many seniors talk about how shocking this moment is. One woman said she offered her daughter her full crystal set, and the daughter replied, "Mom, I don't even drink water from glasses. I use a stainless steel bottle." Another man said he tried giving his son the dining table everyone ate at for every birthday and holiday, and the son said, "Dad, it won't fit in my apartment. Plus, we eat on the couch while watching Netflix." Here's the truth, friend. Your kids not wanting your things doesn't mean they don't value your memories. They just live in a different world. A smaller, faster, more minimalist, more digital world, where people don't keep 9 casserole dishes or a whole box of napkin rings for special occasions. The guilt you feel, that little ache in your chest, comes from a place of love. But don't carry it as a burden. You saved those items because they mattered to you, and that's enough. You honored the memories. You kept them safe. And now you're allowed to let them go without feeling like you're throwing away a piece of your children's heritage. 5. The stress of where will everything go? If decluttering had a slogan, it would be, everything must go, but where exactly? This is the part of downsizing that nobody prepares you for. You start out motivated, thinking, okay, I'll give this away, donate that, sell this. And then reality slaps you across the forehead. Donating used to be simple. You drove to a center, dropped things off, and that was that. Now, half the donation centers are picky. They don't take this, they don't want that, they're full for the month. Or they tell you your item needs to be modern. Modern? It's a chair, not a smartphone. Selling things can be even worse. People on online marketplaces will ask you 50 questions, bargain you down from $80 to $20, then ghost you because something came up. You end up spending more emotional energy trying to sell a bookshelf than you did raising your children. And then there are the things too sentimental to toss, too old to sell, too bulky to donate, and too emotionally charged to think about. That's where the stress comes in, the feeling of responsibility. It's as if each object is asking, what happens to me now? And you're the retirement planner for your belongings. Many seniors say this is the most exhausting part, not the physical work, not even the emotional part, just the pure logistics of figuring out what goes where, who takes what, and which items get a second life versus a dignified farewell. But here's a little comfort, friend. Everything does eventually find a home. It just takes longer than you expect. The process isn't smooth. It's bumpy and chaotic and sometimes annoying, but things slowly leave your home, one piece at a time. And every time something goes out the door, your space and your spirit feels a bit lighter. If you want to downsize in peace and feel more in control, the Senior Downsizing Planner is a great tool. It helps you organize your items, track donations, and plan where everything will fit. Check the pinned comment for the link. Remember, you're not responsible for finding the perfect destiny for every object. You're just responsible for doing your best with what you have. 6. Adjusting to a smaller space feels strange at first, sometimes frustrating. Let's be honest, the first few weeks in a smaller space can feel like you're trying to live in a tiny home experiment you didn't sign up for. Everything feels, well, close. You turn around too fast and bump into something. You try to open a drawer and hit a chair. You put down your bag and suddenly the whole room looks cluttered. There's this strange disorientation that comes with moving into a smaller home. You're used to spreading out. Big living rooms, wide hallways, bedrooms you could actually turn around in without fear of knocking into a wall. Suddenly, you're in a space where every inch counts, and you feel like you're playing a real-life game of Tetris. One man said he kept forgetting where he stored things because he no longer had the drawer where everything goes. Another woman said it took her 2 weeks to figure out the correct path to walk from her couch to her kitchen without stubbing her toe on something. You laugh, but she was genuinely keeping score. But the thing is, and this is the comforting part, the frustration doesn't last. You eventually settle into the rhythm of a smaller home, the same way you learn a new routine. Your body adjusts. You learn where things live. You figure out the best spots for your favorite items. You notice how warm and cozy the space feels, and how much easier it is to move around and clean. Many seniors say that what first felt tight eventually felt just right. It's amazing how the mind adapts. You stop focusing on what's missing and start enjoying what's there. The sunlight in the morning, the intimacy of the space, the peace of having just what you need and nothing more. And honestly, once you stop smacking your elbow on that one drawer that sticks out too far, life becomes a lot more peaceful. 7. Decision fatigue. Something no one warns you about. Let me tell you something nobody puts on the brochure. Downsizing will wear out your decision-making muscles faster than a treadmill set on uphill for eternity. At first, you think you're doing great. You're energized, motivated. You pick up an object and ask yourself, keep or let go. Easy, right? But give it 1 hour and suddenly you're standing in the living room staring at a ceramic frog you forgot you owned, whispering, "Why is choosing so hard?" Every single object becomes a mini life or death decision. Do I keep this sweater even though I haven't worn it since 2004? Should I hold on to this broken lamp because I might fix it? Someday, theoretically, in a world where I have the energy and tools and motivation? What about these random cables? What if one of them goes to something important? People don't realize how mentally draining it is until they're in the thick of it. One senior said she took a break after sorting through one drawer because she felt like she had used up all the decisions allotted for the month. Another said he wanted to put a sticky note on everything that said, "Ask someone else." Decision fatigue is real. It slows you down. It makes you cranky. It makes you doubt yourself. And sometimes it makes you decide that absolutely nothing can leave the house today because your brain is now officially closed for business. But here's the comforting part. You don't fix decision fatigue. You work around it. Take breaks. Do one small area at a time. Celebrate small wins. And remember that you don't have to be perfect. You're not on a game show where the wrong decision will make a buzzer go off. You're just trying to simplify your life, one choice at a time. 8. Realizing you have to let go of someday items. Ah, the famous someday items. We all have them. Those things we keep because one day, someday, we're absolutely going to use them. Maybe, possibly, realistically. Probably not, but hey, we like to dream. It could be the treadmill that's been holding laundry for 7 years. The sewing machine waiting for the day you become the world's next great quilt maker. The fancy dishes you bought thinking, well, when I start entertaining more. Or the box of craft supplies that has followed you through 3 moves because one day I might take up painting. The hard part of downsizing is realizing that someday might not come, and that's okay. One man joked that he finally donated his guitar after 20 years because he accepted he would never be the next Elvis, mostly because I haven't learned a single chord. A woman said she gave away her entire cake decorating kit because she realized she likes eating cake, not decorating it. Letting go of someday items is not giving up on dreams. It's making peace with who you really are today, not who you once thought you might be. It's freeing yourself from the pressure of maybe later and embracing the life you actually want now. And honestly, when those items leave your home, they stop staring at you from the closet like disappointed coaches. That alone is worth it. 9. The "what if I need this later" spiral. This one sneaks up on everyone, even the most decisive, practical people. You pick up an object, you're ready to donate it, and then that little voice whispers, "But what if you need it later? What if you want to wear that old coat again? What if that weird kitchen gadget becomes useful? What if you finally figure out what that mystery cable connects to? What if aliens land and ask for vintage extension cords?" The possibilities become absurd, but your brain doesn't care. It clings to the idea of security. And clutter. Well, clutter often feels like security in disguise. One woman said she kept an old, scratched-up pan because she convinced herself it might be the emergency pan. Another man said he saved an entire box of manuals for appliances he no longer owned, just in case. The what-if spiral can stop you in your tracks. It can turn a 10-minute task into an hour-long mental debate. But here's the honest truth, friend. 90% of the time, you won't miss the things you let go of. And if you ever do need something later, you usually find a better version, a smaller version, or someone to lend it to you. Letting go doesn't mean you're unprepared. It means you trust yourself enough to handle life without being weighed down by every item you've ever owned. And if you ever find yourself hesitating, remember this fun rule several seniors swear by. If I didn't even remember I owned it, I probably won't miss it. 10. The unexpected grief that hits after the move. This one is the quietest, but the deepest. After the boxes are unpacked, after the new place is set up, after you sit down for the first time and the dust settles, that's when it hits you. A wave of grief, unexpected, heavy, almost confusing. You're surrounded by fresh walls, unfamiliar sounds, a layout that isn't etched into your muscle memory yet. Your old home, the place where you raised your kids, hosted holidays, lived your routines, is suddenly behind you. And even if you know downsizing was the right choice, even if you wanted it, there's still a sense of loss. One gentleman said he broke down one night because he reached for the hallway light switch that used to be on the right, but in the new house, it was on the left. Such a simple moment brought a rush of memories. Another woman said she cried after realizing she didn't recognize the sound of the new fridge humming because the old one had been the comforting background noise of her evenings. It's not the house itself you're grieving, it's the life you lived there. The version of yourself that existed in that space. And grief, well, it doesn't follow a schedule. It shows up at random times. When you wake up, when you make coffee, when you sit down to watch TV. Sometimes it feels like homesickness for a home you can't go back to. But here's the beautiful part. That grief eventually softens. It turns into gratitude. It becomes a part of the story you carry, not the weight that holds you down. One woman said that 2 months after her move, she realized she finally woke up without feeling sad. She looked around her new place and thought, this feels like home now. And just like that, she knew she'd turned a corner. Downsizing isn't just a move, it's a transition, an emotional, physical, and personal shift. And it's okay to grieve the past while embracing the future. You're not moving backward, you're evolving. Downsizing isn't just about moving to a smaller place. It's about letting go, starting fresh, and giving yourself permission to create a new chapter, one that actually fits your life today. It's messy, it's emotional, it's confusing, but it's also one of the most powerful resets you can give yourself. If this helped you feel a little more understood, or at least made you laugh through the chaos, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who's buried under a pile of someday items. You're not doing this alone, my friend. And trust me, your next chapter is going to surprise you in the best way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.